Welcome to another episode of Mental Health Mondays, where we talk to guests who are either professionals in the mental health space, advocates for mental health, or those that have lived with or experienced a mental health challenge. And I am really excited for my guest today, but I also want to just start off by letting you know this show is moving platforms as of next week. We are making a transition over to the E360 TV platform, which means that we will also be streaming to Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, I don't know, a whole bunch of services. But what that means is that we are also making a shift in the name. So the overall name is going to be Make Mental Health Matter. And then we are going to have themes because we are also adding an additional hour starting next week. So we will still have Mental Health Mondays at the same time, same place. I mean, you can find us on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and all the places that you already watch. But in addition to that, you will also get a chance to watch on actual TV. So we will have the theme for Mondays as Mental Health Mondays, and then adding an additional hour on Wednesdays, and those will be Warrior Wednesdays. And that will be at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So really exciting things happening as of next week. It's been quite the transition that I'm still working on. But without further ado, and just wanted to let you know, make sure that if you are watching this on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode. And now let me bring on my guest today, Sam Mitchell. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, my name is Sam Mitchell. I run a podcast called Autism Rocks and Rolls, and it is about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. I ran since October 2019. Some of my big guests I've had are Temple Grandin and Mick Foley, along with many other amazing guests. I get to be a vendor for certain places, have sponsors, international speakers. Something else I do, I've spoken in Oklahoma, Orlando, and Canada. And some of my hobbies are creative writing and enjoying the great outdoors.
Amazing. Well, I am excited to have you on the show and be able to talk about your podcast and all of the things. So, thank you so much again for joining me. So, what brought you into wanting to do a podcast?
Well, it started. I joined my high school's media club, and ever since I fell in love with it, I decided to start my own. But I couldn't really be a senior high school forever. So the way I knew to continue my media skills was to start my own podcast, and that was when Autism Rocks and Rolls was born.
Awesome. That is great. And I know that you said recently you graduated from high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So was it last year or when did
2 years
you?
ago.
Okay. Very cool. And you've been doing your podcast since 2019. And so, with that journey, how has it been for you having your own podcast and having those guests and being able to speak on stages?
It's incredible. I didn't expect to get there. I mean, you had told me 5 years ago I'm going to talk to Mick Foley from Pro Wrestling. I would have laughed in your face because I'll be honest, I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to have my own podcast and start Autism Rocks and Rolls and grow it the way it was. It was initially supposed to be a hobby and a few hits in there, whoop de do. But little did I know, it was growing and it got attention. So I think it's partially by luck. Part of it was by luck, but part of it I think was the work I put into it as well.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, it takes a lot to put on a podcast in general, but then also getting out there and speaking and being on stage and getting the guests that you are is pretty amazing. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so when you are on stage, and I know, I mean, autism is what you speak about, but what is like the audience that you speak to, or what is your goal with when you speak?
It's a variety. It can really depend on whatever. I mean, it has to be a center around autism, obviously, but I can mix it around a little. I mean, one was about technology and how it helps those on the spectrum. I have my own belief. I had to focus on the positives. But the other was just about the podcasting side and what I do to help. But there are some others that I just tell my story. Then there's some where I had to make it align with the mission by changing it up a little bit. but I still have a basis presentation.
That's awesome. And I know, I mean, one thing that you had written when you sent me a message is that you want people to know that you're not broken and that you're highly functioning, even on the autism spectrum. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So what I was trying to say there is, yeah, I'm not broken. I don't need to be fixed. I mean, we don't need. It doesn't need to be cured. I'm fine the way I am.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think that some people have, well, a lot of people actually have a misunderstanding about autism. So, what is something that you would want to share, um, just with anybody that maybe is like, I'm not really sure what to say or do or how to talk to somebody? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Give it a try. I mean, you might offend us, but I'd rather you step outside your comfort zone and give us a shot because there's something bigger than what you're missing. There's more to the autism side than what you see. I mean, there's the creative side. There's the fact that they could be really good at this talent, although they're not the best at cooking an egg. That's what I want them to see is what they can do versus what they cannot do.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, a lot of times, just as humans, we oftentimes look at the things that we can't do, right? But being able to really look at the things that we can do, that's absolutely the best way to look at anybody as a human. And
Oh
so,
yeah, hands down. The best way to look at the human is let's look at their positives and see if what we can accept and not accept and trying to figure out what their perception is, but also looking at their flaws and seeing that their flaws are no biggie because the positives are way bigger than the negatives.
and what is one thing that as you went through school, because for whatever reason, I keep getting drawn back to like the middle school range and the high school range, because oftentimes when you ask people about middle school, they're like, it was the most horrible time of my life. How did school in general, being on the spectrum, how did that go for you?
It was pretty horrible as well for me. It was mainly because of dealing with the fun exclusion, the stereotyping. I say fun and being sarcastic, but the bullying and all that, really. But mine wasn't really like out there bullying. It was kind of like inward bullying. So it was more like just dealing with exclusion and just dealing with, okay, you know what? He's kind of different. Let's just not have anything to do with him, which is wrong, but you can't send a kid to the office for that. I wish you could, but you can't.
Yeah. But I think that's important to talk about too, is like you said, even just give a chance, right? Have the conversation, maybe ask questions if you don't understand. And I'm sure anyone would, like yourself, are willing to have that conversation. So I
Oh,
think
yeah,
people
I would say
might
so.
be
I mean, there's some who probably won't because they're in denial, but I bet there's some who are willing to open their eyes and look again.
Yeah, definitely. No, I know. I mean, I have several friends that are on the spectrum, and I think that it warrants a conversation. I don't have to fully understand everything that they're experiencing, but I think that having the conversations and asking those questions, it's only going to help versus hurt anybody. So if you were to like say somebody came up to you and they're like, I don't really fully understand Sam, but I really want to understand what you have experienced or what you do experience now. And maybe they just don't know how to find those right words. What would be something that you would say to them?
Well, I would say check out the podcast because it has some explanations of what I've been through because it tells you, all right, here's the story. This is why I did it. I know it probably shouldn't have been done, but it's real and authentic. And it's very therapeutic for me too because I tell stories that either A, wouldn't be understood, or B, they would be react, why in the heck did he do this? But now I have a platform to share it. So that's one piece, but it's again, give it a try. I mean, the least thing you can do is say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And we're pretty much forgiving people. We understand that we're human.
Yeah, definitely. So tell a little bit more. How can we find your podcasts if somebody wants to go and
Your
listen?
favorite media platform. If you think I'm there, I'm pretty much there. So Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I'm pretty sure I'm there.
Awesome. So anywhere really you have the podcast that's loaded
Yeah,
everywhere.
Google search me too. If you think I'm there, I'm probably there. But if you search Google, it'll pop up something.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, I mean, like I had sent you an email. I grabbed a picture off of Google and I noticed that you have a lot of pictures and there's a lot about your podcasts and all the things that you're doing. So that is really incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also know you talked about some awards that you have gotten around your podcast and business.
Yep, we do have a board members. They're pretty good people, and we help each other out. I get to now draw a paycheck, which I'm very thankful for, and it's great.
That's awesome. And what are the awards that you got?
Well, I mean, I've been voted the best business in CEO class. I've been in the top 10 People's Choice Podcast Awards, and I'm labeled in Canada one of the top 200 podcasts of all time in Canada. So go figure, it must be turning Canadian.
And you said you got to go speak in Canada too, right?
Yep, back in April. I did it once though, back in when the heck was that? Sometime in 2022. I went to April. It's the same talk and not the same talk. Sorry, same place I think and same topic, but we're switching up a little bit.
That's awesome. I have not even been to Canada, so you've gone farther than I have. But and so with these, like, I guess I'm curious because I didn't even know that there was awards that you could get for being in the top podcasts. Was that just like the amount of downloads that you're getting? Is it the visibility that you're getting,
I have
or
no
how do
idea
you
on
don't
that
know?
on how I got it. All I know is my mother told me, "Hey, you're in the top 10 People's Choice Podcast Awards." Okay, cool. So just a little something out on the resume, I guess what I call. It. But I don't know how I got it. Truth be told, and 200 podcasts in Canada. That's another one I was just told.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what else would you like to share? Do you have any like tips or tricks or things that you want to share with the audience?
That's hard to share because there's a lot of like challenges on the spectrum that could be labeled, and it would be hard to go down through not all of them, but to label solutions for all of them. But I mean, I think the best thing to do is at least, like I said, give it a try, but also look at what we can do. Look at what there is. Parents, it doesn't need to be dreaded news. Autism is not a death sentence. It doesn't mean that they're going to not be successful. They can do something, regardless if it's not what you want to do. Maybe they don't cook, but maybe they get up and get the mail every day. That's something in my eyes.
Yeah. No, it's those like the small things, right? It doesn't there's
Yeah. The
such
small
a
things are the big things here and there.
yeah. And there's such a wide variety. I think that that's the important conversation is that although they may be on the spectrum, like you have your just like any mental health challenge, right? If we think about depression or anxiety, like those are kind of generally the smaller, I guess you could talk about mental health challenges. And it goes the same with autism, excuse me, is that there is like the lower, I don't know what you would call it specifically, but um, lower on the spectrum and then higher on the spectrum. And I think that asking questions and just getting more awareness around it is always a good thing.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with you there. I believe that just whatever it takes to help your child. Let's help our children out, regardless of whether it might be an unusual task you have to do.
Yeah. And I think as a parent, sometimes we don't know how to help, right? But if somebody, and maybe you know the answer to this, maybe you don't, but as a parent that maybe is struggling with a child who has autism, is there anything that you could, any advice that you might be able to give them?
Well, that'd be a question for my parents. The problem though is I get them, but one can't go down the stairs because of a surgery he had, and the other's grocery shopping. So that's a hard one to answer. But if I had to give advice to parents, I would probably just say that, do what you can do. And the goal of the day is to survive. If you can survive, that's an accomplishment right there.
Wow. Yeah, that's something to think about, right? Absolutely. What other types of things do you want to share about your podcast or your business or life in general?
Well, I mean, I mean, like I said, I'm a creative writer. I like to write. I'm very creative, think outside the box when it comes to writing. Sometimes I'll compare tasks and an outdoorsman. I mean, I'm not probably right now the biggest outdoorsman because it's cold out. It's 32 right now where I'm at. However, though, when it gets summertime, you can bet your butt I am outside in the great outdoors with the dogs and on the hammock.
Nice. Yes. I know I am in Colorado and it is pretty cold today. So
Oh, yucky.
yeah. I'm hoping that it's going to start warming up soon because I am ready for summer also. So what other, I mean, I know that I would love to have more conversation with you around, I mean, what it means to have a business, being a high functioning, having autism, and being able to do the things that you do. And I know that you said you feel like your podcast was kind of one of those things that you were trying out. You didn't think that it really was going to make it, but I think that it's really cool to understand that you can make it, right? It is something that you can
Yeah, and I
accomplish.
learned that if you have an idea, go for it. I'm a firm believer in starting early. I mean, by starting early is if they're like at a certain age, you don't want to start them too early. I mean, you want them to have a childhood, in my opinion. But I respect the fact that these kids who go out of their house and not play video games on the couch all day get a job. They're starting early by being a person at the what do you call them? What do you call them when they go through the drive-through and they give you the food? I don't know what the heck you call them. Maybe cashier.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name, but those are the type of people, and they're young and they're still in school, but they want to go out and at least work. I acknowledge it because you're not doing just school and playing around in leisure time. I mean, you should have some leisure time in life. I'm not trying to say you don't have any leisure time, but you need to get a job and feel accomplished somehow. And that can be with your passion. It doesn't have to be at Walmart or you know, at the pool as a lifeguard if you don't want to do that. There's something else you can do around that realm. You can start your own business. It's possible. I started mine at an early age, 20 years old. I know one of my guest sons at 12 years old, he's working on windshields, car windshield repairman just at 12 years old.
Wow. That is very impressive. I mean, I don't think I was even thinking about getting a job at 12 years old. So
It
I
is
would,
impressive. And I guess another example I like to share is at school, you have to get up early, but I think we were able to get up a little bit later, as time went on. But my senior year, each day of the year, I took a CEO class, and the rule was you had to get up early and go to there because they say the early bird gets the worm. Well, they believe in that firmly. And I did that not because I had to, but because I wanted to most days.
so it sounds like, I mean, whatever you put your mind to and you can find what is the right fit for you, just because you may be on the spectrum doesn't mean that it needs to hold you back by any means. You can
Right.
go,
But you also know your limitations. I mean, I know I can't drive. I know it's not safe to put me behind the wheel. I know it's not safe for me to cook an elaborate meal. And there's some things like I cannot do. I mean, it's not me trying to be, Debbie Downer. It's just me being realistic. Like I know when I do college, it's sometimes hard to do because I cannot write notes and listen to you at the same time. It's not humanly possible.
yeah. That's, I think anybody, right? As humans, we need to understand our own limitations, and we all have those things that we can or can't do. And I think that's important, that what you just said too is that your limitations. You can't drive. You know that cooking a whole entire meal is not something that you can do, and that's okay, right? So how do we adjust and really find those things that you can do? And it sounds like you have really found those things that you do really, really well.
Well, I try to do them at least.
Hey, and that's half the battle, right?
Yeah, half the battle just doing it, and doing it's enough for me.
Yeah. You got to try. You never know, right? You never know what's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen. So this is your website. If anybody wants to go check out Autism Rocks and Rolls, and you have your podcast up there, what other things do you have on your website?
Well, I have my speaking gigs, have some of the events I plan. I have all the podcast appearances I appeared on, which will probably include this one next week. So I have all those, and you can just see more of what I do.
Awesome. And if somebody who is watching this that may be on the spectrum, and if they have any questions, maybe they want to reach out to you for business advice, or maybe thinking about starting their own podcast, is that something that you do also?
Yeah, I do offer podcast coaching. I'll be honest, it's not the most successful, but I'm working on that. I would love a client, believe me.
Yeah. Hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So if you want to find Sam, his podcast, his speaking events, and all the things that he does, go to autismrocksandrolls.com and check those out wherever you listen to podcasts. And is it a podcast, or do you do it as a show also?
It's a podcast, but I put on the video side. I do mainly our interviews now, like my interview with my guests. That's that has video too, but the A's and the E's are only audio.
Okay, perfect. Well, so you can listen, or you can go check out the website and see what else, again, available for speaking, available if you are somebody who wants to learn more about podcasting. Maybe you are on the spectrum and you're like, hey, I really resonate with Sam and I want to just learn more and get in contact with him. Make sure you go to his website. So any last tips, tricks, thoughts that you want to throw out, Sam?
Well, I mean, I always say this to end, and I think it's just true. I think the world can be nice and not be stupid. We get along so much better, don't you think?
I agree. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I think that this is a great conversation that really needs to be had. And again, we're all human. Have a conversation. If you don't understand, ask some questions. And if maybe it's not the right question, we're all human. We all make mistakes, but there's always a way to be able to pivot and change where we're going, what we're talking about. And I think that if you want to know more about Sam and his experience, go check out his podcast too. So thank you so much, Sam, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good day now.
Yeah. All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of Mental Health Mondays, where we talk to advocates who are advocates for mental health, professionals in the mental health space, or those that live with or experience a mental health challenge. And I think, again, the conversation that we just had is just a really important conversation. I think it goes across the board with all humans in general, is that if you don't quite understand what somebody is experiencing or going through, it could be a mental health challenge, it could be autism, it could be grief and loss, whatever it may be, ask questions, get curious. You may not ask the right question, and that's okay. But at least you're thinking about learning more about that experience. And again, remember, we all experience things differently. It's not about you, it's about that person. And sometimes all somebody needs is a listening ear. But as a reminder, make sure you're subscribing if you're watching this on YouTube. And I said it at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. We are moving platforms as of next week, which is super exciting. So we're still going to be here for Mental Health Mondays, same time, same day, every Monday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. However, we're shifting to the E360 platform, which is actually a TV show. We will be streaming to Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, a bunch of TVs. I don't even know. But also still on Facebook, YouTube, and I'm pretty sure LinkedIn too. I don't know. I'll post it. And then we're also adding an additional hour, which will be on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for Warrior Wednesdays. So the name is shifting. The overall name is going to be Make Mental Health Matter, with the themes on Monday for Mental Health Mondays and the theme for Wednesdays, which will be Warrior Wednesdays. And that is really amazing because we'll be able to reach so many more people via that platform. So Join us there. And as a reminder, BCC Evolution is a 501c3 nonprofit. So if you need any additional resources, or maybe you are somebody who is struggling yourself and you need somebody to talk to, we have lots of resources down here, over here. I don't know which side it is, on our website. So go check out all of our resources. We also have a free download, and you can take advantage of those free downloads. So join us back. That was a lot. Woo! Join us back here next Monday at 11 a.m. and then join us on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. If you have any questions, comments, concern, shoot me a message. But I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week.